This is actually the third video from the module on marketing yourself. And up to this point, we've discussed the resume, the parts of the resume, and some of the basic do's and don'ts. In a moment, we're going to pick up with what are the various versions of the resume you have, and what do you do with the resume. So we're going to do that in just a moment. But remember, as I said at the beginning of this, that marketing yourself, communicating your value add, your value proposition to employers, why they should hire you, in a particular company, is a part of a much larger process that takes you from looking into yourself and understanding where you are in your development as a person, as a professional, as an employee, where you are at a particular stage in your life in terms of your needs from the job market, and goes through networking and all kinds of research and preparing for interviews. There's this whole process, and if you leave out any step in the process, if you cut corners, you are going to tend to make it more difficult for you to get a job. It's the bottom line. And so now we're going to look some more at the marketing aspects of the job search process. So I'm going to go up and play the slideshow. So again, this is just what we were covering in the previous videos. And I'm going to get down here. Okay, this is where we left off, which is posting and distributing your resume. For sure, you're going to have various your resume in various formats. You'll have a printed, formatted version of your resume, probably in some that you've generated out of some word processing program. On the length of the resume, it's best if you can get your resume to 1 page. If you go to 2 pages, it's okay. If you start getting more than that, you have to make sure that really is the right answer for your particular type of work that you're looking for, the people with whom you're communicating. It might, in fact, be the right answer, like in some academic positions where you have a long list of publications that take up a page or two. But in general, for most of us, if we can get our resume to 1 page, it's a huge advantage. Just people's attention beyond that tends to evaporate. And as a matter of fact, the most important part of the resume is that first top third of your first page, where you have your contact information, your job objective, and your key skills and qualifications, your summary. That's where you grab people's attention. That's where people look for a moment, and then they make a decision about whether they're going to go on and read your work history and your education history and whatever else you have in your resume. So you really want to have a tight document, and you're going to have a version of your resume that's printed, formatted neatly. You will almost certainly have a text version of the resume, or plain text resume, and this is a problem if you are relatively inexperienced in using word processors. You might have some difficulty creating a text version of your resume. If you do, talk with a friend, talk with a teacher, get somebody to help you with that. But you're going to need a version of the resume that is just text, that does not have any formatting, because when you post your when you apply for most positions online, they will ask you for a text-only version of the resume as well as for the formatted version. You may well decide that you want to post your resume on the internet. Just beware there and be careful that your resume can wind up getting passed all around to places that you don't know. There are websites that will go out and search for resumes at other websites and then post them in their own resume section. And so you may well have versions of your resume that are out there for people to see that are outdated, that sites you did not intend to communicate with. So if you use the internet posting, be really careful about that. Email distribution, a lot of times you're going to be emailing your resume. If you use Craigslist, in most situations there that I've seen, you get an email address and you email your resume to the employer. So you'll have an email version of it. Always have a hard copy of your resume with you. Always have that resume available to give to people or to send to people at a moment's notice. It'll happen a lot where you'll be talking with someone and they'll say, wait a minute, you're looking for a job. I know somebody who might be interested in talking with you. Do you have a copy of your resume? And you want to always have that copy of the resume ready to give the people. So there are a number of different versions of the resume. You're going to distribute it through the internet, perhaps, definitely through email, through online application systems, and in paper copy. Okay, in the classes, again, I at this point I would do success team, support team. Just a reminder, if you can possibly be a part of a job search group, a job search circle, a support team, career development support team. If you don't find one in your area, go ahead and start one up out at your local coffee shop. But don't try to do the job search alone. Network with people, participate in support groups, and other kinds of activities that give you affirm your value, give you a chance to help others, give others a chance to help you. Okay, cover letters. Now, cover letters are another key marketing deliverable that you have, a piece of your marketing collateral. I mean, I'm using the language that we use in business intentionally because at some level you are the CEO of your own business, as William Bridges said. And you're the one who's responsible for communicating how you can provide services to employers. And one of the tools that you use is the resume, which is kind of like a brochure. And the cover letter is like a letter of introduction. And most times that you submit a resume, you're also going to submit a cover letter. Very often, if you're applying for the same job in many different places, your resume is going to be basically the same because the core knowledge, skills, and abilities and qualities that employers look for are going to tend to be very similar for the same type of position. You might need to adjust your resume slightly, but as long as you're using it for basically the same position, you're going to find most of the time you can use the same resume. Now, the cover letter to me is where you make special adjustments in your messaging for a particular employer. This is the spot where you really look at the particular job description of the employer. See what is important to them. If they say, this is what we really need, and this is what we emphasize in our organization. Look at your skills, look at your knowledge, look at your abilities, look at your interests and loves and passions in life as it relates to the workplace, and use the cover letter to point out how you meet those needs that the employer has. Anything that is unique that the employer has, make sure that you can cover in your cover letter, include that there. Typically, your cover letter is going to be about like that. It's going to be about 5 to 6 inches high in length. So you've got to pack a lot of information in a small amount of space. So you look for the opportunity to highlight particular qualifications that you have that meet the unique needs of the employer. You also include in this the same kinds of points that you put in the summary or key skills and qualifications section of your resume. 2 or 3 key points, in marketing terms, key selling points that illustrate your value to the company, illustrate your value to an employer. And then if you have some unique connection with that employer, make sure that you include that in your cover letter. For example, if you're applying at Stanford University, like Stanford says, they look for people who understand the Stanford environment. If you're a Stanford graduate, and like in my case, I was a Stanford graduate, and my dad worked at Stanford, so when I was applying at Stanford, I highlighted those aspects of my Stanford experience to the potential employers within the university. When I applied it at Hewlett-Packard, it was clear that I had a unique connection and interest in applying at Hewlett-Packard when I made the transition from elementary school teaching to the computer world. So you look for those places where you can establish a nice, neat, unique connection with the employer, something that makes you stand out, and you include that in the cover letter. If you happen to have a company that says no cover letters, don't include one. Personally, I've never encountered that, but it illustrates the key point in the job search process, is that you follow the instructions of the employer during the application process. If somebody says no cover letter, you don't put a cover letter in. If they say, we want a plain text resume, you put in a plain text resume. If they say, we want a plain text cover letter, you put in a plain text cover letter. You follow the process that the employer defines, because, in fact, for many employers, a part of the evaluation of you as a candidate is how well you follow that process. And if they happen to say no cover letter, don't worry, don't do the cover letter. Again, that's really a pretty rare situation. In general, you're going to put a cover letter in any communication that you have to an employer. Make it brief. Highlight your key selling points, your key skills. Highlight why that employer should be interested in hiring you in their own company. What makes you special from the perspective of that particular employer. Okay, business cards. One of the things that happens to people when they're unemployed, one of the things that happens to people who are not in, quote, so-called professional positions is they think, well, I don't have a business card. I'm not going to have a business card. Everybody should have a business card, and you should always have your business cards with you. Again, think of yourself as the CEO of your own company. Think of yourself as a one-person company. And every company worth its salt is going to have business cards. Business cards to introduce itself to customers, to clients, and in your case, to potential employers. And so make sure that you get a business card and that you always have it with you. Make sure that it looks professional, that it's appropriate for the kind of work for which you're seeking. In your business card, you're going to have your name, your phone number, and for most of us, especially a cell phone number. Again, a phone where you have a voicemail or an answering machine, your email address, and some information about your work interest and experience. So you might say that you have 5 years if you're applying for an office administration position. Your job title, even if you're unemployed, might be office administrator, office professional, something like that. And you might highlight on there 5 years experience working in complex corporate office environments, or something else that gives people an indication of the skills that you bring, the value that you can bring to their organization in the role that you've defined in your business card: office administrator, or programmer, or supervisor, or production worker. So business card, make it look professional. Include your name, phone number, email address, some kind of professional title that is appropriate for your background and the kind of work for which you're looking, and brief comments that can highlight your value to companies, your skill set. Always have a business card with you. Always have a business card with you. When you exchange business cards, a lot of times what people will do is write on the back, met you at job fair, Silicon Valley job fair, met at Stanford football game, met at Menlo Park Presbyterian Church. Some note on the back of the card that, again, makes you stand out, that reminds the person who receives your business card, they go, who's this guy, Mike Ginevra? And they kind of look around, look on the back. Oh, I met him over at Menlo Park Presbyterian Church. Yeah, I remember him. And then, so that what you're trying to do is give people as many hooks as you can to remember who you are, and so that when they hear of a job or a potential position that would be a good fit for you, a little bell goes off in their mind and they get back in touch with you. Okay, business card printing. Microsoft Word, the Office programs have templates to print business cards. You can get business cards, nice business cards, at blank ones at a lot of the stationery stores. You can print them yourself. You might decide that you wanted to go to a local printer, maybe they have a special on business cards, and have them print for you. You also might look at a place like Vistaprint, www.vistaprint.com, where their general offer for many years has been they will provide you with a professional business card, professionally designed business card, 250 cards for the cost of shipping and handling. And on the back of the business card, you'll see a very small print, www.vistaprint.com. And so you can going through Vistaprint or other similar online sites, you can get a good number of business cards at a very, very modest price. And I've seen a lot of professionals who've been able to get work using the Vistaprint business cards. So always have a business card. You can print them yourself. You can take them to a print shop. You can get them printed from a company like Vistaprint. This is just another side note. In the classes I do, and when I was at ProMatch, the networking organization out of the Connect Center in Sunnyvale, they would, in their meetings, they would have a thing called Connections Time, where people would stand up, introduce themselves, tell the audience who they were, and tell them what kind of help they needed at a certain stage in their job search process. It's a great habit to develop, being able to communicate to people how they can help you in your job search process, in your career development, and being willing to mention that to people, being willing to help other people when they mention it to you, are skills that are very important and that can make a huge difference in the job search and can make a huge difference in your professional life and your life as a whole. Working on the resume. Okay. This module on marketing yourself is focused on 3 key marketing tools: the resume, the cover letter, and the business card. Once you have your resume in place, always bring a copy of it with you. Get a business card, whether you're employed or not employed, whether you are a so-called professional or you're in a, quote, non-professional role. Doesn't matter. Each one of us is the CEO of our own business ourselves, and each one of us deserves to have a business card that we can use to communicate our basic contact information to people. And finally, there's the cover letter. When you write your cover letters, tailor them to the specific job for which you're applying. Make them brief. Highlight your key selling points. Marketing yourself and being comfortable with communicating with other people about your job search, about your skills, about your value proposition, about what you can do to help employers serve customers and solve problems. These are fundamental skills in the job search process. That's all for now. Take care. There'll be more videos to come. Bye-bye.